Hi, folks. This is the Fighting Nerd and his co-host, Jolly Roger. CGI is killing sci-fi. Bold statement. Of course, CGI can't kill print sci-fi, but for movies and TV, it may be a poison pill because it is really interfering with storytelling. And I'm going to continue my beating up of the Abrams Star Trek movies because they are an example of what I'm talking about here. What I see happening is that they are writing scripts, and when they're doing the scripts, what they're doing is writing a script so they can fit in some cool CGI shots, just for the purpose of eye candy. And the Abrams movies, especially this third one, I understand he didn't do it, but it's the Abrams verse, is pretty much nothing but eye candy. The story was nonsensical because they were concentrating on magnificent CGI shots and didn't give a rat's butt about a plot that even made sense. And I saw this in The Force Awakens as well. There were so many logic gaps in that story. But it doesn't matter because people are going to be distracted by the CGI. And just as an example, you had the rebels, or the resistance, right? Okay, the old empire was gone. The empire was gone, and now you had this first order, right? But it didn't seem to me that the rebels were rebel anything really. They did not make any effort to explain the role of the rebels in the story whatsoever. They were just there as something to be threatened, as opposed to actually doing anything in the story. But hey, that Death Star looked really good in CGI. Or what is it? Star System Killer, or whatever the hell it was. And all the battle scenes look good in CGI. But seriously, what were the rebels rebelling? You had the New Republic that was the counter to the First Order. Or whatever it was. I only wanted to watch that movie once. It was all I could take. So were the rebels against the First Order? Were the rebels against the New Republic? Or were they just, a whole bunch of people that just wanted to be rebels and were looking for something to rebel against? Right? And explain to me exactly what amount of decent people, being Leia and Han Solo, managed to raise a Sith Lord. Now, I understand kids go bad even with good parents, but this is pretty extreme. Right? And the whole thing, the whole scene where Han Solo gets killed by his son, right? He said, "Hey, this isn't you." Well, it obviously is him. He's been wreaking a path of carnage and death and destruction throughout the galaxy. But that's okay because the CGI looks cool. And in Star Trek Beyond, which is a couple of hours of my life that I regret because I didn't just shut that movie off. aside from a plot that was forced at best, I give you the entire Captain Kirk motorcycle distraction scene. Okay, just why would there, even on a derelict ship, why would there be a motorcycle on the bridge of a starship? And if she salvaged it from some other wreck ship that would have a motorcycle on it, motorcycle on a spaceship, right? Well, why should she keep it on why would she keep it on the bridge? The answer is Abrams wanted some cool CGI effect shots. And at the same time, he was, well, not Abrams this time, whatever, whoever directed that movie, but it wasn't Abrams, the director, wanted some cool effect shots. And the writer was writing to get those effect shots in. And nobody that was doing Star Trek Beyond wanted to be doing Star Trek. They wanted to be doing Star Wars. So you need the swashbuckling effect, like the speeder chase in Return of the Jedi. And that is just another trend. The Peter Jackson version of King Kong. Again, so much CGI, very little story. Just an disconnected bit of action. I mean, disconnected bit of dialogue, and maybe a little bit of a story, strung together by gratuitous CGI shots. And then we'll go to fight scenes. Now, there are still people that do good fight scenes out there. The Daredevil series, for instance, and, well, the Netflix series in general do decent fight scenes. A movie that didn't do very well that I watched recently, The Accountant, had good fight scenes. And they were good because, A, they looked like they were fighting, not dancing. It wasn't this over-choreographed stuff that they took from Chinese kung fu movies. And B, they didn't use a whole lot of CGI to simulate somebody that had some skill. The actors actually bothered to build some skill. As opposed to things like show like Into the Badlands. I tried to watch that show, but it was a show where over choreographed fight scenes that looked like they were enhanced by CGI stopped the story. Here's the story. Okay, we're going to show you some really cool CGI. Watch. Oh yeah, and here's some more story. And then look, more CGI. And even though I liked Wonder Woman, I reviewed Wonder Woman not too long ago. Overall, I liked the story. But when they stopped telling the story to do the cool CGI shots when the action came, and I just stopped caring about the action. Because it was particularly annoying because it was CGI in slow motion, which is just maddening. But the bottom line, what I'm really talking about here, and I'm begging screenwriters, and I'm begging directors, don't lose the story in the CGI eye candy, or CGI candy. That's a good term. I think I'm going to use that. I may be the first one to use that. The CGI candy has its use, but it has to be used to tell a story, not to distract people from the fact that there is no story. And Discovery, in a lot of ways, was like that. It could only take 4 episodes of that before I just decided that I wasn't going to waste my time with it. But it did look fabulous. Lots of CGI candy. But I kept waiting for the story to begin. because the story, what there was of it, was forced and cobbled together. So just remember that there was a time when people made movies without CGI, where they actually employed people and built sets. Yes, it cost more money, but it also kind of slowed things down and made the action sequences and the special effects sequences organic to the story that was being told. And that is being destroyed with CGI. Horrible movies like Immortals. Well, the story doesn't have to make sense. We'll just show these all these really cool CGI shots of gods fighting, and we'll have a movie. I'm pretty sure that movie flopped, and a lot of movies liked it flop for exactly the same reason. Right? I mean, if you just want to see CGI, you can have a lot more fun playing a video game with cool CGI than plunking down a lot of money these days to go to a theater and see CGI. Or sitting down and binge watch a TV show that's loaded with all these CGI. I recently binge watched a lot of the show from 1974 called Star Lost. And it was cheesy when it came to special effects and sets. I mean, really cheesy. There was a scene where Walter Koenig, when he wasn't playing Chekhov, this was after he was done playing Chekhov, was walking by a wall, and you could see it shake when he walked. But I liked the show because it told a story. I could care less if the walls were shaking when people walked by, or really, really bad effects when people were flying through a hallway that was like an anti-grav escalator, or the little squiggly lines when they fired their weapons. Because the story was good, the premise was good, and they had to tell a story back then because it was being done on a shoestring, and they did not have the effects to distract people from the fact that there was no story. And that's what we have now. More and more, especially sci-fi, but in all TV shows, in all genres, movies and TV. It's all eye candy. No story, no narrative, no characterization. Just look at the pretty colors. Stop it. Write stories. Then use the CGI to tell the story. Don't make the story subordinate to the effects. So, this is the Fighting Nerd and his co-host Charlie Roger, asking you once again to please remember that words make history. And I bid you good night.